Now at 9, the city of Joplin discusses its response to the damage from last night's storms. And we'll hear from residents in Duquesne as they clean up the damage to their homes and roads. And we'll check out the damage in other parts of Oklahoma and Missouri.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The storm moved through quickly, but the damage will be around for a while. The Carterville, Missouri police officer shot this video last night. In addition to this tornado, the area was hammered by straight-line winds and intense rain. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The storm left scattered damage like this in southeast Kansas before packing a harder punch in Jasper County, Missouri. And we have team coverage of the aftermath tonight, starting in Joplin, where KOAM's Fernanda Silva reports.
I guess I never completely got over the other one. But it's okay. We're here and we're alive.
Joplin resident Margaret Mosley feels the tension when severe weather hits the area.
We got nervous and everything, and then we finally decided wasn't anything we could do then because we had no electricity. I had a spell with my heart. I couldn't get 911. It rang and no one answered.
But once again, the storm's impact on them is not only emotional. Her and her husband spent the morning cleaning debris outside with their kids and in-laws. The Mosleys were also joined by their next-door neighbor in efforts for cleaning, as Evelyn Steele also had damage to her property.
I heard this loud crashing, and I noticed that we had water all over in the kitchen, and water was coming down through the ceiling, through the walls, and then I looked out and saw that we had windows broken, and we had this 2x4 that went through our kitchen.
Sully spent the day after the storm without power, but she's not alone. According to Liberty, 7,200 locations in Joplin lost power during the peak of the storm. Joplin city officials' crews were out at full force Monday night and were still assessing the damage into Tuesday. Now, they ask for caution.
I would encourage all of those citizens in Joplin, especially those in the affected area, to remain calm. Help is on the way and assistance will be provided to you.
I know you're going to want to get out and do things at your residence, but I would ask that you give way to Liberty and to Spire so that they can get their jobs done. We can get things back up and running as quick as we can.
Official shares with residents not only the hope of having things working well soon, but also the thankfulness for having no injuries reported.
Well, nobody was injured. That's the main thing, you know. Damage is material that can all be replaced, but as long as nobody's injured, it's going to all be okay.
In Joplin, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
The Joplin School District today issued a news release explaining the actions the district took last night to open safe rooms. The district says safe rooms around the district opened automatically at 11:16 p.m. in response to a tornado warning in the county. However, the safe room for Joplin High School did not open at that time, apparently because of a malfunction. The safe room supervisor manually unlocked that door at 11:22 p.m. You can find the district's entire news release, including the current policy and KOAM at KOAMnewsnow.com. As the storm system moved east into Duquesne, Missouri, it toppled power poles, trees, and more. KOAM's Amber Jenkins spoke with residents there cleaning up.
Residents living on Walnut Ridge Drive in Duquesne, Missouri are cutting up fallen trees from last night's storm. One resident says once he saw a tree fall, he knew to take cover.
This is the tree. I looked out my window as I saw it like lightning and stuff, and I heard the noise. I looked out real quick. I saw it and it kind of picked up and just fell down, and I saw like that, and it came down with the power line. But it's kind of scary, and that's when I ran and got my mom.
The storm damaged the front lawn and the backyard. Jones and his family grabbed cushions and headed to the hallway.
What, 20 minutes? Yeah, it was like 20 minutes long, and then, you know, it was still lightning and stuff and raining pretty hard afterwards, but in that first couple 10 minutes, you could just tell it felt like birds were just coming out your window. It was just like real loud.
Hey Tasha, you want to go swimming? Oh no, I'm good.
A neighbor across the street who bought her house at the beginning of the year says it was intense watching the storm right behind her house.
Sitting on the couch last night. My husband's working in the bathroom because we're remodeling the house, and it was dead silent, like right in the middle of the storm. Then all of a sudden, I hear a loud whistling noise, and then the whole house started shaking. It was very intense. The neighbor across the street said that she looked out and just saw the twisting right behind her house, saw it come up between these two houses and then loop and go right there.
Another resident, Victoria Sparkles, drove home after work right into a blocked off street.
I usually use this way, but when I came in this morning, there were several trees knocked down from down by the donut shop, but they cleared those trees off. This was actually covered, all this was covered, and then the neighborhood and everybody kind of worked together and cleared it off so we could all have one way in, one way out kind of thing. So everybody came together and helped.
Most of the residents have gotten in touch with insurance, but they know it's going to take some time.
It's definitely a process, so I'm sure it's going to take a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, who knows. With contractors and stuff, it could get really busy with this kind of stuff happening.
Slow, but it's working.
Reporting in Duquesne, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
And just weeks after Carthage saw damage from destructive winds, residents there are also left picking up from last night's storms. KOAM's Samantha Walker spoke with residents about how they're impacted by the damage.
We just lost our house in that storm a few weeks ago, and now we've got even more debris clean up.
Residents across Carthage are left cleaning up damage after severe storms came through the area. Damage can be seen all across the city. All around, trees were brought down or uprooted by the strong winds.
It was pretty crazy. I mean, these are all pretty large, healthy trees just blown over.
Trees and debris fell into roadways, onto cars, and even on houses.
Honestly, I just moved back Sunday, so getting this was kind of a shock, having a bunch of trees down. And we're lucky, honestly, we had the sirens go off, so that helps a lot of us take shelter if we needed to take shelter. But seeing all the trees down everywhere, could have been worse, I guess.
The Carthage Power and Electric plant say they received extensive damage to their system from the storms. Downed power lines have been reported all across the city.
It was pretty severe. Crews were out immediately around 11:45, and right after the threat was clear, and worked all night, and they're still out today.
For the Carthage residents that I spoke with, they say all they can do is try to clean up the best they can after the storm.
We can't recover from it for sure. I mean, we keep cleaning, but I mean, now there's twice the mess there was the last storm.
Reporting in Carthage, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
Carthage School District also canceled classes today due to the power outages and storm damage. Meteorologist Lindsay Gaffney joins us with a first look at weather.
Well, we got up to the 80s today, so we were a lot warmer today, but temperatures do drop, not drastically, but they will drop a bit tomorrow after a cold front moves through. That cold front's associated with the same dry line that came from the same low pressure system, and the dry line passed yesterday, dropping all of these storm reports. So all of the little yellow bubbles, those are severe thunderstorm wind damage, and that could be, power lines, trees, whatever else. But we also had a few tornadoes touch down. I know Carthage and Joplin both had 2 confirmed EF1 tornadoes, and that survey has already been done by the National Weather Service of Springfield. Mostly uprooted trees, some roof damage as well. Now we're clear tonight. We don't have anything going on, but we do have that cold front moving through in the morning, and we'll talk about those details in just a little bit.
All right, before last night's storm system hit our area, it leveled the town of Barnsdall, Oklahoma. The town's mayor says at least 1 person is dead and at least 8 others injured. 30 to 40 homes were damaged, and about 24 people were left without shelter. Downed power lines, a gas leak, and debris are making roadways dangerous. Last night's tornado was the second Barnsdall has seen in just over a month. Now, once it moved past our area, the storms caused damage in Willard, Missouri, near Springfield. The National Weather Service also reports an EF0 tornado tracked from just northwest of Willard to the northeast before lifting near Fairgrove. Maximum winds hit 80 miles an hour, and that tornado left 1 person injured and damage 2 homes. Coming up, a group of doctors is out with new guidelines to help parents limit the screen time their kids are getting. The American Academy of Pediatrics is introducing new guidelines to help kids slash screen time. The framework is designed to help parents motivate healthy behavior change for kids and teens and their devices. Fox News correspondent Steve Harrigan has details.
People everywhere seem to be focused on their phones, and that includes young kids. Studies show 53% of children now have a smartphone by age 11.
It's a really big part of our lives, right? And it's here to stay. And it can have many benefits, but I think the most important thing is having that healthy balance.
The widespread device usage prompting the American Academy of Pediatrics to introduce the 5 C's to help parents manage their kids' media use. Child. Who is your child? And how does this influence what media they are attracted to? Content. Learn about the content your child is consuming. Calm. All children need to learn strategies for how to manage strong emotions. What are alternatives to using media to calm their brains and bodies down? Crowding out. Swapping media time for other activities your family cares about, such as quality time, more sleep, or time outdoors. Communication. Talk about media usage early and often.
It is important to monitor your child's media use. So sit down with them and scroll through the media that they're looking at so that you're aware of what they are seeing and what they're being exposed to.
Psychologist Dr. Cynthia Toland of Family Care Center said these steps can help parents foster healthy relationships between kids and their devices, especially as they age and feel peer pressure to have a phone and be on social media. To that end, the AAP is offering variations for different age groups.
How might media use or exposure for the infant, as well as media use by the parent, their caregiver, may be impacting their ability to learn how to self-soothe. Whereas on the other end of the developmental spectrum, it's really about teaching them digital literacy, how to use the social media responsibly, and trying to understand your child as opposed to telling them what to do.
Spending too much time in front of a screen can impact mood and concentration for kids and teens.
And it can interfere with activities that are important for their development, such as, learning to manage their emotions, social interactions, even engaging in physical activity.
According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, children aged 8 to 18 spend on the average of 7.5 hours each day on screens for entertainment. In Atlanta, Steve Harrigan, Fox News.
A child with a sedentary lifestyle is more likely to end up with excessive heart enlargement as a young adult. A study in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology found children who average 6 hours a day of sedentary time have a 40% increase in heart mass. Children who average 3 to 4 hours a day of light physical activity reduced the increase by 49%. Lindsay is next with a complete look at your forecast, and later the defending state champ Mount Vernon Mountaineers take on the #1 seeded Diamond Wildcats in the district title game. We'll have the highlights.
Well, today was a breath of fresh air after all of the storms yesterday, not to mention the storms that we're still recovering from last week. Now, I saved this picture of Indigo Sky Casino and Resort because it is a beautiful sunny day, blue skies, and everyone deserves to see that just as long as we can. We do have some storms rolling in the morning, not as severe as what we saw yesterday, but we will have those storms. And talking about yesterday, we've got a ton of storm reports. Just west of Wichita, they've got a lot of hail reports, but in our area, mostly wind damage. By the time the storm started to move into our central counties, they were a Boeing line segment, meaning main threat is very incredibly strong wind gusts up to about 80 miles per hour. Not to mention, we also had a few tornadoes touch down. The strongest one of the entire system was the one out in Barnesdale. As of right now, they are seeing EF4 damage to a house, but they have not finished their survey yet. But that also moved into Bartlesville, but by the time it moved into Bartlesville, the line had moved over the individual cell that was dropping that tornado, so it had decreased in its severity quite a bit by the time it hit Bartlesville. Now, we also had a few of our own out in Joplin and Carthage. Now, the tornado out in Joplin, they both have been surveyed by the National Weather Service, both EF1 tornadoes, and the damage done, maximum wind speed about 95 miles per hour. Damage done was uprooted trees, along with power line damages, house damages, roof damages, and this was out in Jasper County, and then the other one out in Carthage, also Jasper County, both about the same time. An EF1, max wind speeds also about 95 miles per hour. Trees were uprooted, power lines snapped, and several roofs were damaged out in Carthage. So I know we're still recovering from all of the storm damage from yesterday. Unfortunately, we do have another round of storms moving in tomorrow morning. Luckily, the threat is not as severe as what we saw yesterday. We are having a level 3 out of 5 risk if you are southeast of Joplin or east of Joplin, elevated risk. Now, the central counties and our main populated area, Pittsburgh, Nevada, Joplin, Miami, Grove, that's a level 2 out of 5 risk, so that's slight risk. And then marginal risk if you are just west of Pittsburgh, Chanute, Independence, Bartlesville. So that is what we're expecting. And starting as early as 5 a.m. to 4 p.m., we're also seeing hail, strong hail, or large hail as our main threat, strong winds, but we can't rule out a tornado either. So about 5 a.m., we start to see that line develop, and that is our cold front line, winds shifting. But the storms start to kick off later in the morning as we see the sun rise. It needs a little bit of time to build that instability. So we're not seeing a insanely severe threat in our area, but we could still see some very strong thunderstorms. And this is about 8:30 in the morning, scattered in nature as of right now. That hasn't organized. It doesn't really organize until after it leaves our area. So the main threat will be just southeast of us. Now, luckily, after that, we have a nice break Thursday through Sunday. Those temperatures have dropped due to the cold front, but we do have a nice period of sunny skies, hopefully enough to give us some time to deal with all of the recovery from these storms.
We definitely will need some time for that recovery. Thank you so much, Lindsay. Coming up, the next generation of tablets.
Apple unveils its latest iPad Pro with a new chip for AI computing. I'm Kelly O'Grady with Fox Business. I'll have the details coming up.
The FAA is investigating a report from Boeing that some of its workers failed to complete safety inspections on its 787 Dreamliners and falsified records, saying the checks had been completed. A source tells CBS News that this could potentially involve about 450 planes, including some still being built. The FAA has not determined there's an immediate safety issue with Dreamliners currently in service. Apple unveils brand new products, including its first new iPad since 2022, complete with updated M4 chips. Fox Business correspondent Kelly O'Grady has the details.
So Apple today had its Let Loose event, and we got to hear about 3 new iPads, an Air, a Pro, and actually an updated Intro offering for just $349. And if you can believe it, that's actually a decent price when you see the others. So let's start with the Air. It comes in 11 and 13-inch models, and that's going to run you $599 and $799 respectively. You can expect faster processing power with what they're calling the M2 chip. It's actually going to be 3 times faster than the iPad Air from 4 years ago. Now, the big gun, though, the iPad Pro was also announced. You've got 11 and 13-inch models there as well. It's going to run you $999 and $1,299 respectively, but it has a slew of new features. So one is a new display screen. It's called Ultra Retina XDR. Essentially, it's just going to look sharper, better picture. The most exciting aspect, though, was a new M4 chip. Now, Apple is promising a serious performance jump. They say it's capable of 38 trillion operations per second. So simply put, it's going to be a lot easier to watch your Netflix. Now, Apple says this is going to be incredible for artificial intelligence, but didn't give specific use cases yet. CEO Tim Cook, though, said the upgrades will revolutionize the iPad products.
It truly is the biggest day for iPad since its introduction. From consumers to pros, iPad enables people to take their ideas, their work, and their creativity to new heights.
Apple also announced a couple accessories, a new Magic Keyboard for $300. That's going to help the iPad Pro function even more like a laptop. A new Apple Pencil for $129. It'll give you better sensitivity when you're writing. So all in all, a lot of new gadgets, which Apple is expecting to boost their iPad sales, which of course have been lagging. The big day, though, that investors are looking for is going to come in June, where we'll hopefully find out more about Apple's AI play. In New York, Kelly O'Grady, Fox Business.
Up next, we'll learn why French bakers came together to make this really long baguette. Bakers in France have broken the Guinness World Record for the longest baguette ever, taking the title away from Italy. The 461-foot baguette is 235 times longer than an average-sized one. Prior to Sunday's win, Italy had held the Guinness record for 5 years, but France's world record-breaking baguette beat Italy's length by more than 25 feet. After the long, thin bread was cooked and reviewed, a majority of it went to homeless people in France. All right, 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports is coming your way. Some Southwest Missourians react to the Boy Scouts changing its name for the first time in its 114-year history. Plus, the woman at the center of the Donald Trump hush money case takes the stand.
You're watching the 4 states' most watched news.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The Boy Scouts of America is changing its name for the first time in its 114-year history. Starting in February, it will be known as Scouting America. Charmel O'Deal has reaction from people in Southwest Missouri.
Local leaders of the Boy Scouts say the name change comes after efforts to make the organization more inclusive. Over the years, the organization decided to become even more welcoming. In 2013, it began allowing gay youth into its programs and ended a blanket ban on gay adult leaders in 2015. For many years, the organization has tried to work towards its diversity. And as time progressed, the organization saw its efforts come true.
Scouting is for everyone, and the values that we teach in scouting should be something that is across the board.
Now, the organization won't officially become Scouting America until February 8th of 2025, which is also the organization's 115th birthday.
Israeli tanks entered eastern Rafah today in the latest offensive in its war with Hamas in Gaza. Israel has called it a limited operation against Hamas targets there, but warned it will go further until Hamas is destroyed, where it releases the hostages it's holding. The U.S. says it remains engaged in trying to help broker a deal after Israel rejected a ceasefire that Hamas says it agreed to. It was a day of bombshell testimony in former President Trump's New York criminal trial. Adult film star Stormy Daniels took the stand and described a sexual encounter with Trump and a deal to keep her quiet. Fox News correspondent Connor Hansen has more from New York.
The woman at the center of former President Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial takes the stand. Stormy Daniels, questioned by the prosecution, provided her account of an alleged sexual affair with Trump in 2006. At times, she went into explicit detail about their encounter, prompting challenges by the defense and causing Judge Juan Merchan to strike some of her answers from the record.
All of these details that we're learning about, the pajamas, the back and forth, the kind of play-by-play in the hotel room, none of it has much legal relevance to the cases and to the charges that the DA is pursuing here. But they're going to be capturing headlines for days.
Daniels told the jury after Trump announced his run for president, she sold the rights to her story to Trump's ex-attorney Michael Cohen for $130,000 and signed a non-disclosure agreement.
As part of this to keep the story quiet. They're going to want to talk about whether she thought that the reason this all came together was to help him win the election.
Legal experts agree the testimony could be damaging to Trump, but some question how much it actually ties him to the crime. Prosecutors need to prove Trump falsified business records to cover up the hush money payment.
And everyone's saying, oh, gee, that's the fraud. That's what they're trying to get us on. The fact that we call a legal expense a legal expense.
Trump's defense moved for a mistrial based on Daniels' testimony, which Judge Juan Merchan denied. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Well, a bit later, artificial intelligence is making it easier for students to cheat in school. We'll see how teachers and parents can combat it.
Well, today was a breath of fresh air after all of the storms yesterday, not to mention the storms that we're still recovering from last week. Now, I saved this picture of Indigo Sky Casino and Resort because it is a beautiful sunny day, blue skies, and everyone deserves to see that just as long as we can. We do have some storms rolling in the morning, not as severe as what we saw yesterday, but we will have those storms. And talking about yesterday, we've got a ton of storm reports. Just west of Wichita, they've got a lot of hail reports, but in our area, mostly wind damage. By the time the storm started to move into our central counties, they were a Boeing line segment, meaning main threat is very incredibly strong wind gusts up to about 80 miles per hour. Not to mention, we also had a few tornadoes touch down. The strongest one of the entire system was the one out in Barnesdale. As of right now, they are seeing EF4 damage to a house, but they have not finished their survey yet. But that also moved into Bartlesville, but by the time it moved into Bartlesville, the line had moved over the individual cell that was dropping that tornado, so it had decreased in its severity quite a bit by the time it hit Bartlesville. Now, we also had a few of our own out in Joplin and Carthage. Now, the tornado out in Joplin, they both have been surveyed by the National Weather Service, both EF1 tornadoes, and the damage done, maximum wind speed about 95 miles per hour. Damage done was uprooted trees, along with power line damages, house damages, roof damages, and this was out in Jasper County, and then the other one out in Carthage, also Jasper County. Both about the same time, an EF1, max wind speeds also about 95 miles per hour. Trees were uprooted, power lines snapped, and several roofs were damaged out in Carthage. So I know we're still recovering from all of the storm damage from yesterday. Unfortunately, we do have another round of storms moving in tomorrow morning. Luckily, the threat is not as severe as what we saw yesterday. We are having a level 3 out of 5 risk if you are southeast of Joplin or east of Joplin, elevated risk. Now, the central counties and our main populated area, Pittsburgh, Nevada, Joplin, Miami, Grove, that's a level 2 out of 5 risk, so that's slight risk. And then marginal risk if you are just west of Pittsburgh, Chanute, Independence, Bartlesville. So that is what we're expecting. And starting as early as 5 a.m. to 4 p.m., we're also seeing hail, strong hail, or large hail as our main threat, strong winds, but we can't rule out a tornado either. So about 5 a.m., we start to see that line develop, and that is our cold front line, winds shifting. But the storms start to kick off later in the morning as we see the sun rise. It needs a little bit of time to build that instability, so we're not seeing a insanely severe threat in our area, but we could still see some very strong thunderstorms, and this is about 8:30 in the morning, scattered in nature. As of right now, that hasn't organized. It doesn't really organize until after it leaves our area, so the main threat will be just southeast of us. Now, luckily, after that, we have a nice break Thursday through Sunday. Those temperatures have dropped due to the cold front, but we do have a nice period of sunny skies, hopefully enough to give us some time to deal with all of the recovery from these storms.
Saturday also looks like a perfect time to get your mowing done. Hopefully we'll have enough drying out. Well, coming up in sports, 2 of our local softball teams in Southwest Missouri host district championship games. John Dales has all the highlights and post-game reaction from those games and more up next.
It's district championship night for Missouri High School softball in classes 1 and 2. 3 of our local teams play for a championship. Liberal hosts Lockwood and Mount Vernon plays Diamond. Liberal Softwood at home facing Lockwood in the district championship. Bulldogs are trailing 3-1 in the 5th inning when Taylor Swarns hammers this pitch to dead center. That's gone for a solo home run. Deficit is cut to just 1. Later in the inning, Ava Garrett, the freshman, hits a line drive into right field. That'll bring in 2 more. Liberal scores 4 runs in the 5th to take a 5-3 lead. Top of the 7th, Jordan Goodell picks up her 500th career strikeout, which brings Liberal 1 out away. Next batter, Grayson Clausen, though, hits this over the center fielder's head. A run is going to come in to score. The tying run's now at third. Go-ahead run is at second. Another chance, though, for Goodell to close it out, and she does. She picks up career strikeout number 501 for the final out. Liberal wins the district championship 5-4 and advances to the state quarterfinals next week.
I was pretty excited where we were in the lineup. I just knew that with my defense and just trusting them, I knew that we were going to get out of that some way, even if we got up a tying run, gave that up. I just felt I trusted our offense and defense, and I just knew that it was going to go well for us.
Mount Vernon hosts Diamond in the Class 2 District 6 championship game. Early in this one, Taylon Reeder hits a grounder sharply hit to third, scooped up and sent back home to get the out. But Reeder in the circle for the Lady Wildcats, great. She strikes out Cheyenne Beaver there swinging. Then a bunt and a throw over to first in plenty of time. Close game throughout between these two, but Diamond wins 5-3. Lady Wildcats improve their record to 35-1, remain unbeaten against teams from Missouri, and win the district championship.
We had a pretty tough season and we had some really close games, but we kept at it. And then we went over to Frontenac and got a little reality check, and now we're back at it. So we'll just keep going. Oh my gosh, I'm just so excited. I'm so proud of my girls.
Last Monday, the Thunder complete a 4-game sweep of the Pelicans in the first round of the NBA playoffs. OKC hasn't had to play again until tonight, Game 1 of the Western Conference semifinals against the Mavericks. Just getting towards halftime in Game 1 in Oklahoma City, Thunder lead the Mavericks 56-48. So far, they've done a great job defensively on Dallas's 2 top players, Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, holding them to a combined 18 first-half points. That's a look at sports. Back with more news after this.
With greater access to powerful artificial intelligence programs that can generate essays and answers in seconds, educators fear it's getting too easy for kids to cheat. Fox News' Sean Langill learns more about why students cheat and how teachers and parents can combat it.
In the rat race we call life, it seems like some people will do anything to get ahead, like cheating. And when it comes to academics, the problem is rampant.
Some estimates are that by the time students graduate from high school, at least 80 to 90% have engaged in some kind of cheating.
But while students have been cheating long before the rise of artificial intelligence, many teachers are worried software like ChatGPT is only creating more opportunities for kids to avoid doing their own assignments. But according to Professor Eric Anderman of The Ohio State University, access to AI isn't the root of why kids cheat.
Mainly, it is because they're trying to earn a grade or they're trying to avoid some kind of negative consequence.
Anderman says getting students not to cheat starts by reshaping the culture around grades.
When the students acknowledge in a classroom that the success here means getting a high grade at all costs, then you're setting them up to cheat.
Instead, Anderman is encouraging educators to help kids focus on absorbing the information they're presented.
Teachers provide opportunities for students to really master the material that they're learning. And when I say mastery, it means that if you didn't learn something well enough, rather than just getting a bad grade and that being the end of it, you have an opportunity to remediate.
Because AI seems like it's here to stay,
I think we really need to be ahead of the curve, and when kids come back to school in the fall, talk to them about what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable.
Sean Langill, Fox News.
Well, coming up, we'll get a behind-the-scenes look at Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and its motion capture magic. The Planet of the Apes franchise returns this week with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And Fox spoke with the cast about making this epic new movie, including a mocap recap, as they share skills learned working with motion capture. Plus, the film's director talks about working on such a large-scale production and creating this world for the big screen. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
An epic franchise continues in theaters, and I am here talking to the cast of the new Planet of the Apes movie as Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes flies into theaters May 10th.
I see everything.
The action-adventure Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes follows a young ape trying to save his family while making discoveries which may redefine their future.
There was a time when humans and apes lived side by side.
Working with performance capture was a fun learning experience for the cast.
I was no longer imprisoned by my own human vanity. The ideas of how I look on certain angles or when light's hitting me a certain way or blah, blah, didn't matter anymore.
I really had to trust the process because unlike other, work assignments, like characters I've played, you can't go back to the playback. This is this whole other life that the footage has to take on.
You can just have a thought and it'll be expressed through the performance capture technology.
It made their co-star's job interesting.
Having to do scenes without an actor in front of you. We'd shoot the scene and I get to be with them and then they'd be taken out. I felt kind of like a team, with the camera.
Director Wes Spall had franchise staple and mocap extraordinaire Andy Serkis as a consultant.
He kind of invented the whole art form in a way. He really kind of, I think, just gave them the confidence to trust in the process and just to do their job as actors.
It's just one aspect of creating an epic new Planet of the Apes story.
The technical components of this movie is unlike anything else. But, it still comes down to just storytelling.
This is important.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of a baby camel at a zoo in the UK. What a cutie. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.